Hey everyone, I never thought I'd be the one posting here, but I guess life has a funny way of kicking you when you least expect it. My name's Chris, been married to Jilly for 12 years, and until recently I thought we had a pretty solid thing going. I was wrong. Jilly works in insurance, big company, corporate nonsense. Every 3 months, they send her to Charlotte for these mandatory in-person meetings. She's always complained about them, saying they could be done online, but never once has she tried to get out of them. It used to seem normal. Now I'm looking at everything differently. A few weeks ago, our daughter, Tracy, had a school project. She wanted to do a Zoom call with Jilly so she could get her mom's input. It wasn't a big deal, just a normal family call while Jilly was in her hotel room. But something felt off. Jilly was all dolled up. Hair done, makeup perfect, even had earrings on. I made some joke about her looking ready for a night out, and she laughed it off, saying she was just winding down from a long day. But it wasn't just that. Her tone, her body language, something wasn't right. Then there was me. I didn't even realize I was doing it, but apparently I was a little sarcastic during the call. Not my usual self. Tracy caught it first, giving me that side-eye kids do when they sense something's wrong. Jilly noticed too. She asked if I was okay. I shrugged it off. But in that moment, I felt something in my gut, something I couldn't shake. After we ended the call, I sat there, just staring at the blank screen. Tracy went back to her project, and I just kept thinking, why did she look so good for a mandatory meeting? Why was she alone in that hotel room when she always used to share with coworkers? And why did I feel deep down that I was being lied to? I didn't have proof, just a feeling. But feelings like that don't come out of nowhere. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. After that Zoom call, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I kept replaying it in my head, Jilly's perfect hair, the way she laughed a little too much at my jokes, how she dodged my questions about her meetings. But I told myself I was overthinking. I wasn't the jealous type. At least I never used to be. That night, I did something I don't usually do. I stayed up late, just sitting on the couch, watching TV, but not really watching. Tracy had gone to bed, and I was alone with my thoughts. A part of me wanted to text Jilly just to see if she'd answer right away. But I didn't. Instead, I waited. At around 11:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was Jilly. Hey babe, heading to bed soon. Meetings were so boring today. I could barely stay awake. Something about that text made me pause. I stared at it longer than I should have. I don't know what made me do it, but I opened up my laptop and logged into our shared cloud storage. Jilly wasn't the most tech-savvy person, and sometimes her phone auto-backed up photos without her realizing it. And there it was. A fresh picture, time-stamped just an hour ago. Jilly, standing in front of a hotel mirror, wearing a little black dress, hair curled, makeup flawless, taking a mirror selfie like some single woman getting ready for a date. But she wasn't single. She was married to me. I felt my heart slam against my chest. My hands clenched into fists. I wanted to believe there was an explanation. Maybe she just liked dressing up? Maybe she went to dinner with coworkers? But deep down I already knew. Jilly wasn't in her hotel room getting ready for bed. She was out. Somewhere. With someone. And I was about to find out who. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? That picture of Jilly in the black dress burned into my brain. It wasn't just the dress. It was the way she posed. The way she angled her body slightly. The subtle smirk. It wasn't a picture a wife sends her husband before bed. It was the kind of picture you send when you want someone to notice you. I wanted to believe there was a reasonable explanation, but my gut was telling me otherwise. And when a man's gut starts screaming, he'd be a fool not to listen. The next morning I tried to act normal. I made Tracy breakfast, got her ready for school, all while my mind was racing. Jilly had texted me a casual good morning, like nothing was wrong. I didn't respond right away. I needed more. So I started digging. I checked our phone bill. Jilly and I were on the same plan, so I could see the numbers she'd been texting and calling. That's when I saw it. A number I didn't recognize. repeatedly. Late at night. During work hours. Random times, throughout the day. Whoever this was, Jilly was talking to them a lot. I copied the number and pasted it into Google. Nothing. No name, no business, just an empty result. But I wasn't done. I sent the number to a buddy of mine who worked in IT. Just a casual, "Hey, can you check something for me?" He owed me a favor, and I knew he could dig deeper. An hour later, he texted back. Numbers registered to a guy named Ted, last name. "Want me to pull more info?" Ted. I didn't know any Ted. At least I didn't think I did. But apparently my wife did. And I was about to find out exactly who he was. I stared at my phone, rereading the name over and over. Ted. It meant nothing to me, but clearly it meant something to Jilly. I told my buddy to hold off on pulling more info, at least for now. If I was going to figure this out, I wanted to do it carefully. I didn't want to tip Jilly off before I had something solid. If she was cheating, I needed proof. If she wasn't, well, I wasn't about to blow up my marriage over a gut feeling. So I played it cool. At lunchtime, I called Jilly. She picked up on the second ring, her voice bright, fake even. "Hey, babe. How's your day?" I forced a smile into my voice. "Good, just busy. You?" "Oh, same old meetings. So boring. I'm just grabbing a quick lunch in my room." That was a lie. I knew for a fact that Jilly never ate lunch in her room during these work trips. She always made a big deal about going out with coworkers, networking, all that corporate nonsense. Now, suddenly, she was holed up alone? Yeah, right. I decided to test her. "You should go out," I said casually. "Get some fresh air." She hesitated. I could hear it. "Yeah, maybe. But I've just been so tired." Tired. That was her go-to excuse for everything lately. I ended the call with an "I love you," which she repeated back, but it sounded automatic. I hung up, gripping my phone so tight my knuckles turned white. She was lying to me. I knew it. I had to find out more. That night, I waited until Tracy was asleep before I went back to digging. If Jilly was having an affair, there would be a digital trail somewhere. People get sloppy. First, I checked our bank statements. Jilly handled most of our finances, but I still had access. I scrolled through recent charges, nothing weird at first. Hotel charges, food, Uber rides. Then something stuck out. A charge from the Vineyard Steakhouse. Now that wasn't unusual by itself. Jilly liked good food. But what was unusual? The time stamp. 9:47 p.m. She told me she was in bed by 9. I felt my pulse throb in my ears. I quickly pulled up the restaurant's website and checked their menu. It was one of those upscale spots with fancy lighting and overpriced drinks. The kind of place you go to impress someone. The kind of place you don't go to alone. I sat there, staring at the screen, heart hammering. She lied. She wasn't in her room early. She was out. And I had a damn good idea who she was with. Ted. The next morning, I called Jilly again. She picked up, her voice groggy. "Emma, hey, you just wake up?" I asked, keeping my tone light. "Yeah. Ugh, I barely slept." That was another lie. Because I had checked her phone activity last night. She was texting well past midnight. I leaned back in my chair, forcing myself to stay calm. "What did you end up doing last night?" A pause. "Too long." "Oh, nothing. Just crashed early." I swallowed my anger. "Not even dinner?" Another pause. "No, I just grabbed room service." I had her. I could have confronted her right there, but I didn't. I needed more. I needed proof. So I went to the next step. I called the Vineyard Steakhouse. "Hey, I was there last night, and I think I left my wallet." I lied smoothly. "I was sitting at a table with a woman, but I don't remember the server's name. Can you check for me?" "Of course, sir," the hostess said cheerfully. "Do you remember what time you were here?" "Around 9:30, 9:45. She typed something in. "Okay. Looks like we had a reservation for 2 at 9:30 under a Jilly, last named." My stomach dropped. "And was she with a man?" I forced out. Another pause. Then, yeah. She was with a gentleman named Ted. I closed my eyes, my fingers tightening around my phone. There it was. My wife, having a fancy late-night dinner with a man she never mentioned. Lying to me about it. I could have ended it all right there. Called her. Confronted her. Demanded answers. But I didn't. Because I needed to see just how deep this rabbit hole went. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that dinner reservation in my head, Jilly and Ted. 9:30 p.m., a fancy steakhouse. I pictured them sitting across from each other, drinking overpriced wine, laughing at some inside joke while I was at home helping Tracy with her homework, thinking my wife was asleep in her hotel room. By morning, my exhaustion had turned into something else, something sharper. I needed more. I wasn't about to confront Jilly with just a restaurant reservation. I needed undeniable in her face. You can't talk your way out of this proof. So I went back to digging. First stop, the hotel. Jilly was staying at the Regency Grand Charlotte, a fancy spot her company always booked for these trips. I went to their website and pulled up their contact info. I wasn't about to just call up and ask, hey, did my wife bring another man to her room? So I had to be smart. I dialed the front desk. Regency Grand, how can I assist you? I put on my best polite but frustrated voice. Hey, I was hoping you could help me out. My wife, Jilly last name, is staying there, and I'm trying to plan a surprise for her. I wanted to book the same type of room she's in, but she keeps forgetting to tell me what it is. Could you check for me? There was a pause, then some clicking on a keyboard. Of course. Mrs. Last name is in a king suite. Would you like me to book one for you? I barely heard the rest. A king suite. That didn't make sense. Jilly always stayed in a standard queen when she traveled. She always said the upgrades weren't worth the extra cost, especially since the company only reimbursed a set amount. So why the change? I wasn't done yet. I took a breath. Thanks. Oh, one more thing. She mentioned a mix-up at check-in. Said they accidentally put someone else in her room at first. I just wanted to make sure everything got sorted. Another pause. Then, no mix-up in the system, sir. Mrs. Last name checked in smoothly. Actually, it looks like she had a +1 listed on the reservation. My stomach dropped. I gripped the phone tighter. Oh, right. That's probably her coworker. The company sometimes books group trips. I held my breath. Doesn't look like a company booking. The second guest was added at check-in. At check-in. So it wasn't planned. This wasn't a work trip arrangement. This was Jilly choosing to add someone to her room after she got there. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Do you have the name on file? I'm sorry, sir, I can't release that information. I let out a forced chuckle. Totally understand. Just thought I'd check. Thanks for your help. And I hung up. Then I sat there, staring at the wall, fists clenched, heart pounding. Jilly booked a king suite. And she added someone to her room. I didn't need the hotel to tell me who it was. I already knew. Ted. I felt like I was moving in slow motion for the rest of the day. I picked up Tracy from school. Made dinner. Pretended everything was fine. But inside, I was raging. Jilly had been lying straight to my face. Over and over again. I'm just in my room. I'm so tired. These meetings are so boring. Meanwhile, she was out to dinner with Ted. Booking a bigger room. Bringing him inside. I didn't know if they had slept together yet. But did it even matter? She had already crossed the line. That night, when Tracy was in bed, Jilly called me. I let it ring a few times before answering. Hey, babe, she said, all cheerful. How was your day? I took a deep breath, forcing my voice to stay steady. Same old. What about you? Oh, exhausting, she sighed. Meetings, meetings, meetings. I didn't even leave my room today. I felt my jaw tighten. Lie. She kept talking. I ordered room service again. Just too tired to go out. Another lie. I almost lost it right there. Almost asked her how the steakhouse was. Almost asked her if the King's suite was comfortable with Ted sleeping next to her. But I didn't. Because I wasn't ready yet. Instead, I played along. Kept my tone light. Well, get some rest, I said. You sound like you need it. Oh, I will, she said, her voice soft. I miss you, babe. I closed my eyes. I bet you do. I miss you too, I lied back. Good night, Jilly. Then I hung up. And I started planning. I wasn't going to be one of those guys who sat around, waiting for his wife to come clean, while she made a fool out of him. No. If Jilly thought she could play me, she was dead wrong. The next morning, I woke up early. My mind was already set. I was going to Charlotte. I called my buddy in IT again, the one who had pulled up Ted's name. Hey, I said, keeping my voice casual. You still got that number for Ted? He laughed. Yeah, why? You want to say hi? I didn't laugh. Not exactly. Think you can find out where he works? Give me a sec. A few minutes later, he texted me. Ted, last name, Regional Sales Manager, Worthington Insurance. That stopped me cold. Worthington Insurance. The same company Jilly worked for. So Ted wasn't just some random guy. He was a coworker. This made things worse. A lot worse. It meant Jilly had been lying to me for longer than just this trip. It meant this wasn't a one-time mistake. It meant she'd been building something with this man right under my nose. And I was about to burn it all down. By noon, I had booked a flight. A one-way ticket to Charlotte. I told Tracy's grandparents that I needed them to watch her for a couple of nights. No questions asked. Everything okay, Chris? My mother-in-law asked. I forced a smile she couldn't see over the phone. Yeah, just a work thing. Work thing. That was exactly what Jilly had called her trip. Seemed fitting. I landed in Charlotte that evening. I took an Uber straight to the Regency Grand, but didn't check in. Instead, I sat in the hotel bar, nursing a drink, waiting. Watching. At 9:15 p.m., I got my reward. Jilly walked in. With Ted. They weren't touching, but they were close. Too close for coworkers. She was wearing a different dress this time. Tight, low-cut, something that screamed, not for work. Ted had his hand on the small of her back as they approached the bar. I gripped my glass so hard I thought it might shatter. For a second, I thought about storming over, calling her out in front of everyone. But I stopped myself. No. I needed more. So I did something I never thought I'd have to do. I followed my own wife. Jilly and Ted got drinks, but didn't stay long. About 20 minutes later, they left together, walking toward the elevators. I gave them a little head start, then casually made my way over. I already knew what floor they'd be on. The King Suites were on the 10th floor. I waited a few minutes, then took the next elevator up. My heart was pounding, but I kept my face neutral. The hallway was quiet when I stepped out. I moved slowly, checking the room numbers. Then I stopped in front of 1012, Jilly's room. I stood there for a few seconds, listening. At first, nothing. Then a muffled laugh. A man's laugh. I clenched my fists. Every part of me wanted to kick that door down, to catch them right there, to make her see what she was doing to me. But I didn't, because I wasn't finished yet. Instead, I pulled out my phone, took a picture of the room number, the door, the hotel logo in the hallway. I wanted evidence. Cold, hard proof. Then I turned around, walked back to the elevator, and rode it down to the lobby. I wasn't done. Not yet. Jilly wasn't just going to get caught. She was going to get exposed. I sat in the hotel lobby, phone in hand, my mind running through every possible scenario. I had her. The late-night dinner. The upgraded hotel room. The +1 added a check-in. And now she was upstairs, in that king suite, with Ted. I wasn't just dealing with a cheating wife. I was dealing with a liar. A manipulator. A woman who kissed me over the phone while another man was in her bed. And she had no idea I was right here, watching her world crumble in real time. I wanted to barge in, expose her right then and there. But no, that would be too easy. She'd cry, she'd lie, she'd make excuses. She'd say, "It's not what it looks like," and try to weasel her way out. No, I needed to hit her where it really hurt. I took a deep breath, steadied my hands, and made a call. Step 1. A friendly tip-off. "Hey, Susan." Susan was Jilly's boss. A woman who did not tolerate unprofessional behavior in her department. And she happened to like me a hell of a lot more than she liked Jilly. "Oh, Chris. What's up?" she asked, surprised to hear from me. I kept my voice casual. "I don't want to put you in an awkward spot, but I wanted to check something. Jilly told me these quarterly meetings were mandatory for everyone. But I just ran into one of her coworkers who said he didn't have to go. Weird, right?" Susan hesitated. "Well, yeah, actually, that's true. Only team leads and senior reps are required." I frowned, pretending to be confused. "Huh, that's odd." Because Jilly made it sound like she had to be here. Now Susan sounded annoyed. "Wait, so she volunteered?" "Seems like it." I chuckled, shaking my head. "She even got a king suite upgrade. Guess she wanted to be comfortable." I let that last part sink in. Susan went quiet. Then a sharp inhale. "Wait a second," she said, her tone changing. "Chris, who did you say you ran into?" Bingo. I knew she was putting the pieces together. Jilly. The upgraded room. A certain coworker who also had to be on this trip. "I think it was a guy named Ted," I said slowly, pretending like I was trying to remember. "You know him?" Another pause. "Then, yeah, I know Ted." "Oh." She knew him all right. Susan wasn't dumb. She was a high-ranking insurance executive. She'd just figured out that one of her employees, a married one, no less, was using a work trip as an excuse to shack up with a coworker. I decided to give her a little more fuel. "Anyway, I don't mean to stir anything up. I'm just here in Charlotte for a work thing myself. Figured I'd check in on Jilly while I was at it. But she's been really distant lately." Another pause. A tense one. "Well, Chris," Susan said finally, her voice tight. "You've given me a lot to think about. I appreciate the call. I appreciate you, Susan." And with that, I hung up. Step 2. The grand finale. I wasn't done. Not even close. I pulled up my messages, selected Jilly's contact, and sent her a text. Me. "Hey babe. Just thinking about you. Miss you. Hope you're sleeping well." I stared at the screen, waiting. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Then, "Jilly. I miss you too. Just exhausted. Long day. Can't wait to be home." Lie. She wasn't in bed. She was 2 floors above me, lying to my face, while Ted was probably still in the room. I clenched my jaw and typed back. "Me, I know, baby. You work so hard. I love you. Jilly. Love you too, babe." I almost laughed. She was still playing the loving wife. She had no idea what was coming. I gave her an hour. Let her get comfortable. Let her believe she was safe. Then, at exactly 11:45 p.m., I took the elevator back up to the 10th floor. I walked down the hallway, stopped in front of room 1012, and knocked. Loudly. No response. I knocked again. Harder this time. Then movement inside. A shuffle. A voice. A man's voice. A second later, the door cracked open, just enough for Ted to poke his head out. His face paled the second he saw me. "Who the hell?" I didn't let him finish. I pushed the door open hard, stepping inside before he could stop me. And there she was, Jilly, standing in the middle of the hotel room in nothing but a robe. Her hair was messy, her makeup smudged, and she looked like she had just been caught red-handed. Because she had. Her eyes went wide. Pure panic. Chris. I let the silence drag out, let her feel the weight of what was happening. Then, finally, I spoke. Surprise, babe. The room felt heavy, like all the air had been sucked out, leaving nothing but tension and the cold, hard reality of what was happening. Jilly stood there, barefoot in that cheap hotel robe, frozen like a deer caught in headlights. Behind her, Ted looked just as panicked, shirt unbuttoned, belt undone, face drained of color. Nobody spoke. I let the silence sit there, let them drown in it. Then I took a slow step forward. Go ahead, Jilly. My voice was calm. Too calm. Tell me what's happening here. Jilly opened her mouth, then shut it. She had nothing. Ted, the idiot, actually tried to play dumb. Hey man, I think you. I turned my head so fast that he flinched. You don't speak? My voice came out low, controlled, dangerous. I'm talking to my wife. Jilly finally found her voice, but it was weak, desperate. Chris, I can't explain. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Oh, you can explain? Great. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my wife is half naked in a hotel room with another man. So please, Jilly, explain. Her hands trembled as she gripped the robe tighter around herself. It's not what it looks like. I stared at her. Really? Then what is it? She blinked rapidly, scrambling for words. Ted he just came up for a drink. We were talking, that's all. Talking? I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. That's funny, because the hotel told me you added him to your room at check-in. Her face dropped. I had her. Ted stepped forward slightly, hands up. Look, man, I think we should. I turned to him, my patience gone. I told you not to speak. He shut his mouth. I turned back to Jilly. So, let's try this again. How long has this been going on? Jilly's lip quivered. She was crumbling. Chris, I swear it wasn't like that. How long? My voice finally cracked, loud, raw, unfiltered anger pouring out. She jumped, her whole body recoiling. Then, finally, she whispered, 6 months. The words hit me like a brick to the chest. I had expected weeks, maybe even this one trip. But 6 months? Half a year of lies. Half a year of looking me in the eye, saying she loved me, kissing our daughter goodnight, and then running to him. Something inside me snapped. I exhaled sharply and shook my head. Wow, 6 months. So, all those business meetings? The late nights? The I'm just tired excuses? That was all him? Jilly sobbed. She covered her mouth, shaking her head like she wanted to undo it all. Chris, I didn't mean for this to happen, she choked out. I swear to God I never wanted to hurt you. I laughed bitterly. Oh, you never wanted to hurt me? Jilly, you brought another man into your marriage bed. You lied to me over and over and over. You think saying I didn't mean to makes it better? She cried harder. I was lonely. You were always so busy with work and Ted was there. I held up a hand. I didn't want to hear it. Oh, so this is my fault now? I was working to support our family to give us a good life, and instead of talking to me, you just what? Let this loser slide in and replace me? I turned to Ted, seething. What about you, Ted? Got a wife? A family? He swallowed hard. I'm divorced. Yeah, shocker. I let out a sharp breath, turning back to Jilly. So what now, huh? Were you ever going to tell me? Or was I just supposed to be the dumb husband forever? She sobbed, but I didn't care. She deserved this. I stepped back, staring at them both. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. I tapped a few buttons, then turned the screen toward Jilly. Her face went pale, because it was a picture of her hotel door. Room 1012. Time stamped. And then, the next picture. A video. Me. Standing outside her door. Ted answering it. Me stepping inside. Everything. I recorded all of this, I said coolly. Every word. Every excuse. Every lie. Jilly's breath hitched. Chris, please. No, I cut her off. I don't want to hear it. I'm done listening to you. I turned toward the door. But before I left, I said one last thing. I'll be filing for divorce first thing Monday morning. Have fun with him. And with that, I walked out. I didn't look back. She wasn't my wife anymore. I walked out of that hotel room and didn't look back. Not once. As I rode the elevator down, my hands shook, not from sadness, but from rage. From betrayal. From knowing that for 6 months, I had been nothing but a fool in my own marriage. When I stepped out into the cool Charlotte night, I pulled out my phone and did the first thing I should have done months ago. I blocked Jilly. On everything. No more texts. No more calls. No more fake I love yous while she was in bed with another man. Next, I called my best friend, Mark. He answered on the first ring. Chris? Everything okay? I took a deep breath. No. Jilly's been cheating on me. Silence. Then, where are you? I gave him the hotel name. I just caught her. With some guy named Ted from her job. Mark cursed under his breath. Stay there. I'm coming. I didn't argue. I needed someone on my side right now. Step 1. Taking control. The next morning, I was done playing nice. By 9 a.m., I was sitting in a lawyer's office. You sure you want to move this fast? The lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Linda Carter, asked as she looked over my notes. I'm sure. My voice was steady. I want to file for divorce. Today. Linda nodded. Okay. But first, let's talk assets. Any shared accounts? House, car, investments? I clenched my jaw. House is in my name. She moved in after we got married. Bank accounts? Joint, but I control most of the funds. Linda leaned back in her chair. Good. That means you have leverage. I exhaled slowly. I don't care about anything but my daughter. I want full custody of Tracy. Linda studied me. Does Jilly have any history of neglect? Poor parenting. I hesitated. No. But she's been lying, sneaking around. I don't want my kid around that. Linda sighed. Judges don't usually take infidelity into account for custody unless the affair put the child in danger. I already knew that. But I wasn't backing down. Then we build a case, I said firmly. She's been gone on these business trips while I take care of everything at home. I'll talk to Tracy's teachers, get statements proving I'm the primary parent. Linda gave me a small smile. You came prepared. Damn right. We started the paperwork. Jilly was about to get served. Step 2. Blowing up her life. By noon, I was sitting at a cafe with Mark, still running on pure adrenaline. Dude, he said, shaking his head. I still can't believe it. Jilly? Of all people? I scoffed. Yeah, well, I thought I knew her. Mark drummed his fingers on the table. So, what's next? I smirked. Oh, I'm not done yet. I pulled up my phone and sent a group text to Jilly's parents, her siblings, and a few close mutual friends. Me, hey everyone. Just wanted to let you know that Jilly and I are getting a divorce. Turns out she's been having an affair for 6 months with a coworker named Ted. I caught them together last night in her hotel room. Just thought you all should hear it from me first. Then I sent the photos. The hotel door. Ted answering in a half-dressed panic. Jilly in her robe, looking like a deer in headlights. Mark leaned over my shoulder as I hit send. Jesus, Chris. I shrugged. She deserves it. It didn't take long for the fallout to begin. Jilly's mom called me immediately. Oh my God, Chris. Please tell me this isn't true. It's true, I said flatly. Check your messages. I heard her gasp as she opened the photos. Oh, Jilly, what has she done? You tell me, I said bitterly. Because I have no idea who I've been married to. She started crying. Not for Jilly, for me. I kept it short. I just wanted you to know. I won't stop you from seeing Tracy, but I'm done with your daughter. Then I hung up. One by one, the texts started rolling, and Jilly's sister, WTF is wrong with her? I'm so sorry, Chris. Mutual friend, Sarah, I knew something was off, But I never thought she'd actually do this. Jilly's dad, we're ashamed. Whatever you need, let us know. Then, finally, Jilly herself. I had unblocked her just to see her reaction. Her messages came in fast. Jilly, Chris, please don't do this. Jilly, we need to talk. Jilly, you're ruining my life. I stared at my screen for a second, then typed back. Me no, Jilly. You ruined your life. I just made sure everyone saw it. Then I blocked her again. Step 3. The final blow. By 3 p.m., I got a call from an unknown number. I answered. Chris. It's Susan, Jilly's boss. I leaned back in my chair, smiling. Susan, what can I do for you? A heavy sigh. Well, after our little conversation last night, I started asking around. Turns out, Jilly and Ted weren't exactly subtle about their friendship. No kidding, I muttered. Susan sighed again. Chris, company policy strictly prohibits inter-office relationships, especially when it affects business travel expenses. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, she continued. Turns out, Jilly expensed multiple hotel stays where Ted was also present, which means she violated company policy. Wow, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. That's unfortunate. Susan chuckled dryly. Look, I can't promise anything, but let's just say you might want to keep an eye on her employment status next week. And just like that, I had delivered the final blow. By the end of the day, Jilly was exposed. Her family was disgusted with her. Her friends were turning on her. Her job was now at risk. And her divorce papers were already on the way. As for me, I picked up Tracy from school, took her out for ice cream, and held her close. Because I might have lost my wife, but I wasn't losing my daughter. And as for Jilly, she had lost everything. And she had no one to blame but herself. The next morning, my phone rang. Jilly's number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, another call. Her mom. This time I answered. Hello. Her voice was tired, broken. Chris. Jilly's a mess. She came home crying last night. She says you ruined her life. I exhaled slowly. No, she did that herself. She's begging to talk to you. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. There's nothing to say. A pause. Then, she lost her job this morning. I didn't react. I had seen it coming. She also tried calling Ted, but another sigh. He's not answering. Of course he's not. Ted got what he wanted. Now he's gone. She's all alone, Chris, her mom whispered. She knows she messed up. I clenched my jaw. Good. Let her sit in it. Not my problem, I said flatly. I've got my daughter to focus on. Her mom sniffled. Will you at least see her? Just once. I didn't hesitate. No. And then I hung up. Jilly wanted to talk? To cry? To be comforted? Too bad. She should have thought of that before she burned our life to the ground. By the afternoon, Jilly had found a way around the block. A new number. The message came in short, desperate. Jilly? Chris, please. Just one conversation. I need to explain. I stared at it. Explain? She had 6 months to explain. She had 6 months to be honest, to come clean. Instead, she had lied again and again, while sneaking off to be with Ted. I didn't reply. A few minutes later, another text. Jilly, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I can't live like this. I lost everything. Please, just let me talk to you. She still didn't get it. This wasn't about her. She was drowning not because of what I did, but because of what she did. And now, when she had no job, no affair partner, and no one left in her corner, she suddenly wanted me to pick up the pieces? Absolutely not. So I did what I should have done the first time. I blocked the new number. Jilly could cry. She could beg. She could regret. But she would never get the chance to hurt me again. Blocking her number didn't stop her. The next evening, as I was making dinner for Tracy, I heard a knock on the door. I knew. I just knew. I opened it, and there she was, Jilly. She looked awful. Puffy eyes, messy hair, wearing an old hoodie I hadn't seen in years. She looked like she hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, hadn't stopped crying since I left that hotel room. "Chris," she whispered. I didn't say anything, just stared. She took a shaky breath. "Can we talk? Please." I folded my arms. "There's nothing to talk about." She wiped her face. I don't even know where to start. I destroyed my family for a guy who won't even answer my calls," I said coldly. She flinched. "I made a mistake." "No, Jilly," I cut her off. "A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. You made choices. Over and over again." She broke down, right there on my doorstep, sobbing into her hands. "I miss you," she choked out. "I miss our family. I miss Tracy. I miss us." I let her cry. I felt nothing. When she finally looked up, I met her gaze, steady and unshaken. "You don't get to miss us," I said quietly. "You threw us away." Her lip trembled. Can we at least try counseling? Please." I almost laughed. "Counseling? Now?" "No, Jilly," I said firmly. "There's no trying. There's no fixing." I pointed at the driveway. "Now, leave." Her face crumbled. "Chris, please," she begged. I shut the door in her face. And this time I didn't look back. I leaned against the door after shutting it, exhaling slowly. Jilly was gone. For now. But I knew this wasn't over. "Dad." I turned. Tracy. Standing in the hallway. Eyes wide. Crap. She had seen something. I forced a smile. "Hey, sweetheart. Everything okay?" She hesitated. "Was that Mom?" I nodded. "Yeah." Her face scrunched up. She was crying. I sighed, walking over and kneeling to her level. "Yeah, baby. She shifted, uncomfortably. "Why?" I swallowed. I had been dreading this moment. Tracy was too young to understand everything, but she was smart. She'd start asking more questions. I met her gaze. "Because Mommy made some bad choices. And now things are changing." She bit her lip. "Is that why you're mad at her?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah." She looked down, fidgeting with her hands. "Does this mean you won't love her anymore?" That one hit me in the gut. I sighed, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Sweetheart, I'll always care about your mom because she's your mom. But love..." I shook my head. "Love is about trust." And she broke mine. Tracy frowned. "So she's not coming home?" I shook my head. "No, baby. She's not." She looked down for a long moment, thinking. Then, quietly, "Good." I blinked. "What?" She shrugged. She was always leaving anyway. Then she walked back toward the kitchen. I sat there, stunned. Tracy had already been picking up on things. She had already felt her mother slipping away. And deep down, she had already accepted it. 2 days passed. Jilly didn't call, didn't text, didn't show up. I thought maybe, just maybe, she finally got the message. Then, on the 3rd day, I got an email. Subject: "Please, Chris." I almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity got the best of me. "Chris, I know you don't want to hear from me, but please, just give me 5 minutes. In person. I need to say things I couldn't say before. I need you to understand. If after that you never want to see me again, I'll accept it. But please, just one last conversation. Jilly." I stared at the screen, fingers hovering over the keyboard. I had nothing left to say to her. But something inside me, it wasn't love, wasn't forgiveness, just unfinished business, told me to hear her out. So I typed back. "Fine. One conversation. Tomorrow. Public place. 10 a.m. That's all you get." And I hit send. One last talk. One last time. The next morning, I walked into the cafe 5 minutes early. I didn't know why. I sure as hell wasn't eager to see Jilly. She was already there, sitting in the corner, fidgeting with her coffee cup, looking like a wreck. The moment she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. I felt nothing. I sat down. "You have 5 minutes." She exhaled shakily. "Chris, I don't even know where to start. I leaned back, arms crossed. Try the truth. Something you should have told me months ago. She flinched. I know. I know I messed up. Her voice cracked. I lost everything. You. Tracy. My job. My family barely speaks to me. Ted won't even answer my calls. I let out a dry laugh. So that's why we're here? Because now you have nothing? She shook her head quickly. No. I mean, yes, I lost everything, but that's not why I asked you to meet. I needed to tell you. She swallowed hard. I regret it. Every second. I wish I could go back and undo everything. I studied her face. She meant it. But that didn't change a damn thing. I'm not here for your guilt, Jilly, I said flatly. I'm here to tell you that it's over. For good. Her lip trembled. Chris, please. No, I cut her off. I don't love you anymore. I don't trust you. And I sure as hell don't want you back. Tears spilled down her cheeks. What about Tracy? I took a deep breath. Tracy will always have you in her life. But I'm done. I'll never stop you from seeing her, but you and we're finished. She sobbed into her hands, shoulders shaking. I didn't comfort her. Instead, I stood up. Goodbye, Jilly. She looked up at me, desperation in her eyes. But I didn't wait for another plea. I turned and walked away. This time for good. That was 6 months ago. The divorce went through. I got full custody. Jilly gets visitation, but Tracy hardly asks for her. Their relationship is strained, and I don't interfere. Jilly tried reaching out a few more times, but I never answered. Eventually, she stopped. And me? I moved on. I found peace. I focused on my daughter, my job, my life. I rebuilt. And now, I'm happier than I ever was with Jilly. Because the truth is, losing her wasn't a loss. It was freedom.